Have you ever felt it? That weight pressing down on you, a silent, invisible burden you carry day after day? You might brush it off, label it stress or tiredness, but deep down, you know it's something more. It's a persistent, dull ache, a low hum of discontent that colors everything. You're not overtly sad, but joy feels muted, distant. Every morning, it's there, a subtle unease that settles in before the day even begins. Is this your reality? You might wonder if you are alone in this. Are you simply not strong enough to endure life's challenges? Perhaps not. What if I told you this feeling isn't a sign of weakness, but an indication that you are trapped in a war? A war unlike any you've ever imagined, waged not against external forces, but against yourself. You've unwittingly created an enemy within, a saboteur of your own happiness. Consider this: every negative thought, every moment of self-doubt, every impossible standard you set for yourself is a weapon you hand to this internal enemy. You become your own prosecutor, judge, and executioner, meticulously dismantling your self-worth. It's easy to blame external circumstances, a demanding job, a difficult relationship, financial pressures, but the truth, however painful, is that you are the architect of your own prison. Each brick is laid with self-criticism, doubt, and unmet expectations. You know this deep down, don't you? There's a nagging feeling that something is off kilter, like a piece of a puzzle that refuses to fit. You function exactly as you've been programmed, as a skilled destroyer of your own peace. You've learned to dissect every thought, to view accomplishments with suspicion, to bury pride beneath mountains of self-deprecation. Why? Because at some point you decided it was safer to strike yourself before the world could. You sought to prevent external harm by cultivating an internal wound that never heals. It was meant to be a shield, but it became a dagger. There's something inside you, disguised as caution, humility, perfectionism, slowly devouring you. But beneath the surface, it's fear. Fear of failing to meet your own unattainable expectations. Fear of facing the reality that you might be the one holding yourself back. A real-life example? Think of a gifted artist who constantly criticizes their own work, never feeling it's good enough, and eventually stops creating altogether. The fear of imperfection stifles their talent. Now imagine someone, a philosopher perhaps, whispering uncomfortable truths in your ear. Picture Arthur Schopenhauer. He understood that the greatest battle isn't against the external world, but against the inner turmoil that rages within. If the threat were external, you could escape, change cities, jobs, relationships. But the tragedy is that you carry the battlefield inside, a shadow that clings to your consciousness, regardless of where you go. This silent war has no flags, no anthems, no truces. You've become so accustomed to the internal explosions that you barely notice them anymore. You've normalized the chaos, waking up each day carrying a weight that isn't yours. You walk with your head down, as if simply existing is a guilt you must atone for with every step. But that guilt didn't materialize from nowhere. You cultivated it, nurturing it with insecurities, pruning it with fears, and reinforcing it with silence. Let's be honest, it's easier to punish yourself than to forgive yourself. Harsh self-criticism feels more natural than even the smallest act of self-compassion. You've been trained for it. Since childhood, you've been told that being hard on yourself is the only way to improve. You were warned about the dangers of self-indulgence, but never about the slow poison of self-annihilation. Now I ask you to stay with me, even when the truth starts to sting. You recognize something you've been feeling for years, something you've never been able to articulate, but recognize in every word. You suspect that this internal war is not unbeatable. A part of you, the quietest, but also the strongest, resists remaining a hostage to its own fear. That spark that still survives within you, amidst the ashes, is more powerful than all the fears that have chained you. You're not lacking courage. You just need to recognize that you already possess it. The question you should ask yourself is not why you feel like this, but for what. What are you keeping yourself in this perpetual state of war for? What do you gain by sharpening weapons against yourself every day? What hidden reward do you find in this constant pain? There is a hidden benefit in your self-destruction, the perfect excuse to avoid facing what you truly fear. While you're preoccupied with fighting yourself, you don't have to confront the outside world. Trapped in your internal battles, you avoid the risk of failing in the external world. It's comfortable in its own twisted way, a refuge that burns, but one you know so well that you're afraid to leave. Here's the revelation that will alter your perspective on your entire life. You're not fighting to destroy yourself, you're fighting to wake up. What you call suffering is the price of being awake in a world that prefers anesthesia. Your internal war is proof that you haven't completely surrendered yet, that you still have the strength to challenge your own chains. Remember, life is pain, but it's also a challenge. And the greatest challenge is not surviving pain, but transforming it into power. It's not escaping the war, but learning to master it. Turn every wound into a silent medal you carry beneath your skin. Look at yourself. Recognize the weary but undefeated warrior within. See the spark that, despite everything, still burns deep inside. That spark is not a coincidence. It's your essence, the irrefutable proof that you are not defeated. You're just fighting the battle that truly matters, the battle for yourself. Welcome to the war you didn't know you were fighting. Get ready, this journey has only just begun. There is an enemy within this battlefield far more dangerous than your own dark thoughts. It's subtle, almost invisible, a poison that doesn't attack directly, but weakens your internal defenses until you confuse it with your own voice. This enemy is self-deception. It's not sadness or anxiety that's tearing you apart, but the illusion you've constructed to justify why you're trapped in this cycle. You've repeated the same narrative so many times that you've begun to believe it. You've endlessly told yourself that you can't change, that circumstances overwhelm you, that the burden is too heavy. This story has become your favorite prison. Let's dig beyond the surface, beyond what's comfortable. We'll find the root of this self-destruction, camouflaged as resignation. What you haven't wanted to accept is that, deep down, a part of you enjoys this victim role. Not because you're weak, but because it's addictive. Self-pity is a silent drug. It provides an excuse not to act, allowing you to receive sympathy without exposing your vulnerability. It's a ruinous refuge, but still a refuge. While you pity yourself, you avoid the risk of trying and failing. It's easier to say, I'm like this, than to ask yourself why you choose to be this way every day. Comfort is the greatest enemy of growth, not external comfort, but internal comfort. That mental space where you feel safe, even though it's destroying you. You've learned to survive inside your pain, because the pain you know scares you less than the emptiness on the other side of change. You don't know what's there, and humans fear the unknown. You prefer the known prison to the unknown abyss of freedom. But that abyss is not the end, it's the beginning. The mind is skilled at disguising prisons as fortresses. It tells you that cynicism is protection when it's a cage. It whispers that distrust keeps you safe, but it isolates you. It convinces you not to try because failing would be devastating, when not trying is the true catastrophe. Imagine peeling away all those layers of justification, seeing with clarity what part of your suffering is real and what part is manufactured by your mind. What would remain? A version of yourself not defined by pain, but by the ability to transcend it. Here's the irony. The war you're waging against yourself cannot be won with more internal violence. You can't defeat fire with fire. You need a different strategy. Become the observer of your own battle, not one of its blind soldiers. When you stop fighting reactively and observe your mental movements, you become a strategist. No longer the soldier running frantically, but the commander who understands every move. You begin to anticipate your own sabotages, to deactivate the traps you've set. That is the beginning of self-mastery. There is no more lethal weapon in this war. Mastering yourself doesn't mean repressing emotions, but understanding them so deeply that they stop controlling you. See the wave of self-criticism coming and learn to surf it instead of letting it drag you down. Recognize when you're falling into self-deception and have the courage to grab the rope of truth, even if it burns your hands. The truth stings, it burns, but that burn is purifying. That burn forges you. Time doesn't stop while you're engrossed in this internal struggle. It doesn't wait for you to resolve your conflict. Life continues relentlessly, dragging you along whether you like it or not. The days wear on, the years dissolve, and you become someone who lived an entire existence at war with themselves, without ever shooting a single bullet toward their true goals. Your worst enemy is not your sadness, your fear, or your anxiety. It's your distraction. That constant distraction diverts your attention from what matters to the fireworks of your own doubts. It's like being on a sinking boat and arguing with your reflection instead of bailing out the water. You become a prisoner of your own mental show, an infinite performance that leads nowhere. This enemy is silent. It doesn't scream. It disguises itself as logical reasoning, caution, constructive self-criticism. But it's not constructive, it's destructive, only it does it so slowly that you don't notice until it's too late. It convinces you that waiting is sensible, that doubting is fine, that postponing your dreams is responsible. Meanwhile, life slips through your fingers. Every day you spend trapped in this internal war, you're giving away your time, your energy, your life to an enemy that doesn't exist outside your mind. You're handing over your days to an illusion, mortgaging your existence for fear of facing what's on the other side of your internal conflict zone. The other side is not an abyss, it's freedom, the possibility of living without the constant weight of mental self-destruction. To get there, you must cross the minefield of your own deceits. The minds aren't real, they are mental constructs you can deactivate if you dare to see them for what they are. Sophisticated excuses disguised as protection. You need to understand that this internal war isn't one with more resistance, but with surrender. Not the surrender that means defeat, but the one that means acceptance. Accepting that the battle was never necessary. Accepting that you're not broken, that you don't need to fix yourself, you just need to stop fighting against your own existence. How much longer will you postpone your own peace? How much longer will you live as a hostage of your own mental weapons? The internal war you've been waging is not going to stop with a moment of inspiration or a motivational quote. This war stops the day you understand that you don't need to destroy your internal enemy, because that enemy is nothing but a part of you that is screaming something you haven't wanted to hear. It's not there to defeat you, it's there to wake you up. That fear, that self-criticism, that constant voice that sabotages you is not your enemy. It's your distorted reflection, the primitive version of your survival instinct, out of control, hyperactive, unleashed. It's your mind trying to protect you from a danger that doesn't exist. Since it doesn't know how to help you, it hurts you from within. It's not an executioner, it's a desperate guardian. That's why you can't win with violence, but you can't surrender to it either. You must understand it, understand that you don't have to obey it, that you can listen to that voice without kneeling before it. True freedom, the one very few know, is not absolute silence in your mind. That doesn't exist. True freedom is learning to move despite the noise. It's building despite the echo of your own doubts. It's advancing, knowing that your ghosts will always be there, but that you no longer belong to them. Fear doesn't extinguish, it's overcome by walking alongside it. Insecurity doesn't disappear, it dilutes every time you choose to act despite it. The internal war isn't won, it's transcended. You've made it this far. You've endured every word, every uncomfortable truth, every scalpel that has dissected the excuses you've been accumulating for years. That tells you that you've already started the path, even if you haven't realized it. There's a part of you that's tired of comforting lies and has started looking for the discomfort that leads to growth. Your purest essence is tired of surviving and has finally started to want to live. That's the greatest victory you can obtain. The simple fact of realizing that you don't have to keep shooting arrows at yourself, that you can stop fighting with yourself and start building with yourself, that you can turn your worst enemy into your greatest ally. That dark part of you, the one you see today as a burden, can be the spark of your greatest strength. Whoever has learned to survive themselves is ready for any battle the outside world presents. I offer you a small action that, if you do it, will be the first real step out of this war. Post a comment with the phrase, "Today I saw my true enemy." No explanation, no context. Let it be a cryptic message for whoever dares to read it and maybe sees themselves reflected. It will be our secret code, the echo of those who have begun to wake up. If this video has resonated with you, if you felt that even for an instant these words were made for you, connect with the channel. What we've unearthed is just the surface. There's much more to discover, to break, to rebuild. This journey doesn't end here. We've just begun. Don't look for peace outside when you haven't signed it inside. Make today the most important pack of your life. Look your internal reflection in the face and say, "I will not destroy you. I will listen to you. I will not fear you. I will walk with you." That's true mastery. It's not absolute silence. It's the symphony amid the chaos. Say goodbye to your old version, not with pity, but with respect. It's been a part of you, but it doesn't define you. You are much more than the sum of your internal battles. You are the architect of your freedom. Turn off this video, but do it with a promise that this won't be another piece of content you forget. Open the door to your own mind, and for the first time in a long time, begin to walk without the weight of war on your shoulders. True victory doesn't make a sound. It's felt in the silence of a mind that no longer needs to fight to exist. You may not see another video, because if you do the work, you'll be too busy living to look back.